Hi everyone. I thought it'd be really cool to do something slightly different on my YouTube channel, so I decided to do a bit of a Q&A. So I asked on Facebook, Instagram and stuff like that, and also on YouTube, if anyone had any questions for me, and quite a few people replied, so I'm not going to do all of them because I don't have the time, but I might, any that I don't use today, I'll try and use in another video later on. But I've got, I think, 16 questions to answer, so hopefully you enjoy it. So yeah, enjoy! So I've always been around horses. I was really lucky that my mum got her first pony when she was 10 years old, I think. His name was Pickles, and apparently he was a total nightmare. She actually convinced her dad to buy him because he threw her off like 5 times the first time she rode him, and she was like, nah, you're not getting away with that. So she decided to get him, and she kept him until the end of his days, and he was still around when I was little. So I think he was in his 30s when he died. You know, he was quite an old pony, but yeah. I remember him from my childhood. I think he died when I was about 5. I wasn't very old, but I do remember him. My mum also had a rescue pony. He was actually a Caspian pony, but he was treated really badly by the people that had him before. So my mum rescued him, and I think my cousin used to ride him and stuff like that. His name was Sonny, and he was a lovely pony. I remember my mum used to put me on Sonny's back while he was having his dinner and stuff, and you know, I had a helmet on and everything. I just used to sit on this pony while he was going about his business in the stable, and she said that kept me out of trouble, you know. Yeah, he was very sweet. And also my mum had a Welsh Cob thoroughbred cross mare who was a bit scary when I was a kid. She was about 15 hands, but she was quite, you know, with the moody mare kind of face all the time. And I remember that she used to kind of look at me a bit like that, and I used to be a bit scared of her, but she never actually did anything. But my favourite at the time was a Welsh Cob Arab cross, and he was getting on a bit. I mean, I think he was already retired when I was born, so he would have been in his 20s then. And he was absolutely lovely. He was so sweet. Like, he was 15 too, but you could trust him even with a baby, you know what I mean? He was so good. And I actually used to take him for walks in a head collar up the bridleway when I was like 7 years old, and I barely came up to his knees, and people used to be like, oh my god, you know, how can your mum let you walk this massive horse, you know, what if he runs you over, what if he drags you, whatever, you know. And I used to be like, he's not going to, he's awesome, you know, he loves me. And he did, honestly. I could tie him up for hours and just brush him or talk to him, and he just used to go to sleep, you know. He honestly loved the attention, and he died when I was about 14. I didn't ride him very often. He was a little bit strong to ride, although my mum used to lead me around the field bareback, and I used to be blackberry picking on his back and stuff like that. So no, he was just my best friend basically, you know. We just used to hang out together. He was such a sweetie, absolute moron at times, you know. Bit of a silly horse sometimes, but nah, he was lovely. And because of that background, I've always been around horses, and I'm really, really lucky, actually, because a lot of people don't get that opportunity. But to be honest, I've always been an animal lover, and there's always been something about horses that just, I think I would have been horsey anyway, but obviously it would have been a lot harder to get near them if I didn't have at least one horsey parent. So yeah, I think that's pretty fair, you know. But yeah, I've always been around them, and hopefully, fingers crossed, always will. So my first pony was a piebald Shetland mare. She was about 9 hands, I think, and her name was Minnie. And I'd always begged for a pony of my own, but my mum refused to let me have one, even though we already had horses and everything, we already had a yard. My mum wouldn't let me have one in my name, of my own, until I proved to her that I could handle the responsibility. So for years, absolutely years, I was out in wind, rain, sunshine, everything, proving myself with her horses, and doing what little bit of riding and showing and stuff that I could with them. But I was just happy being around them, you know. I was grateful for the opportunity. And then the Welsh Cob Thoroughbred Cross mare, the moody one that I mentioned earlier, she died, and suddenly we only had one horse, the one that I was just speaking about just now, the Welsh Cob Arab, and the one that died was his sister, and he was really ill. Like, he made himself so poorly because he was so stressed out, and he was really lonely. He started going off his food and getting colic and stuff like that, and we thought we were going to lose him. So my mum said that we needed to get a companion pony, and she asked me, you know, are you ready for your own pony? And I was like, of course, obviously, you know, I've only been waiting my entire bloody life. So my mum and my uncle, I think, went to view this pony before they brought me, because they didn't want me to get attached in case it was the wrong sort of pony. And they went and saw her, and then they took me up to see her, and she was scarred, she was thin, she had chronic laminitis. Oh God, honestly, it actually makes me tear up just thinking about the state that she was in, honestly. Her hooves were curling upwards so much that they were like cutting into her leg. She had scars in her mouth, her tongue. She had tooth problems. She was filthy. She hadn't been groomed or bathed or anything in like over a year. She was absolutely terrified. Like, she wouldn't run away, but she would just stand there shaking. She could barely walk. And it was some travellers. I'm not saying that all travellers are bad, but these ones definitely were. And they actually, they had a harness and a cart that they gave to us with her. And they said that it fit her perfectly and she went really well and stuff like that. But the poor bloody pony was absolutely terrified of it. Like, it was clear to see that she'd been driven before, like maybe with no problems, but this particular cart and harness, it was too big for her. Both things were too big for her. And the guy that said that he drove her must have weighed about, I don't know, 28 stone. Like, he was a big guy. Like, you think I'm big, this guy was massive. Yeah, there's no way that would have been a comfortable, positive experience for her. She was called Patch at the time, and I remember speaking with the little girl, the daughter of this traveller guy that was selling her, and I said, why are you getting rid of your pony? And she's like, got no use for her anymore, she's useless, can't ride her because she's lame. What do I want with her? And I remember thinking, oh my God, I so wanted to slap this horrible, horrible little girl. She was same age as me, basically, maybe a year younger. And I remember I had to walk away because my overwhelming instinct was just to slap the shit out of her. Like, how can you just discard any living creature like that, Anyway, I kept my mouth shut, although it did really upset me. And the dad of this little girl, was trying to tell us that this pony was, like, I think he said she was 10 years old. And my mum was like, no, there's no way she's 10. She's already going grey. She's already got, like, the beginnings of arthritis. There's no way. And looking at her back and her teeth and everything like that, she was not 10, 100%. We knew that, and my mum asked me what I thought, and I said, Mum, I don't care if this pony only lives 2 days with us. We've got to take her, so at least she knows she was loved for that 48 hours. Whatever happens, we've got to take her. However much he wants, I will give it you in my pocket money. I will wash cars every day, whatever. I was adamant we were taking this pony, and luckily my mum felt the same way. So we actually went to collect her. I think it was a couple of days later, her and this cart and harness, because we said the cart was really shoddily made and the harness wasn't a very good harness either. And we said, well, if he's given it to us, you know, at least if we've got it, if it's not suitable to be used, then at least that's one less bit of equipment that can be used on another horse, you know. It's better that we have it and don't use it than leave it with that guy, because he would totally use it for the wrong reasons. We got her home and she was absolutely petrified, but she never bit, she never kicked, never did anything, you know. She was just scared. She just used to stand there shaking, and for a long time couldn't knock out anywhere near her, because if she saw a broom or a fork, any big stick, she'd go. She couldn't stand men that wore those like wax, you know, like those country jackets that men wear when they go like shooting or something. My uncle had one of them, and it made like a really weird rustling noise, and she used to be terrified of that. So that tells a story, you know. Clearly a big guy, anyone over 5'10" and who was a man, she'd freak out, and that just says it all, don't it? We got the vet out, and the vet said that it was touch and go whether she'd make it, but hopefully she would. We got the farrier out, who said that she would always have deformed hooves, but that she should be comfortable if we kept on top of it. The vet confirmed that she was much, much older than even we thought. She said that at the time she would have been in her mid to late 20s, which means that when she eventually died, which was 3 years ago now, she would have been in her 30s or 40s, which is a bloody good age for a pony, especially a pony that went through so much that she did. Eventually she did get better and she wasn't lame anymore. She had to go on a joint supplement because her poor little joints were riddled with arthritis. She couldn't be ridden. Well, I rode her a couple of times when I was about 13, after we'd had her about 2 years, and I was still light enough to ride her, but I literally just sat on her and pootled up the field and then pootled back again. Didn't do anything else. But do you know what? She actually loved it. I think she thought, yay, finally I've got a job, you know. We never put her in the cart, because at the time neither of us were very experienced with carriages, and we just thought, this poor little old lady, you know, she's an old lady, she doesn't need any more stress, she doesn't need to be driven. We've got her as a companion and to love her and care for her, you know, as a friend. We don't need any of this stuff, you know, so we never forced her into it. I did long rein her a few times just to give her a bit of exercise, you know, up and down the bridleway. She was fine with that, but as soon as she heard the noise of the cart, then she would just run away. And we just thought, it's not worth it, you know. We didn't get her for this. We got her to save her. So if she never goes in a cart, if she never does anything like that, doesn't matter, you know, really doesn't matter to us. So we kept her. We did do some local shows with her, and we were placed every single time. Although we did get a few comments from people like who saw her hooves and how skinny she was. Especially, she always struggled to maintain her weight. So although she wasn't emaciated, she was always on the thin side, as older horses do tend to be. And people would be like, oh my god, you're so cruel, you know, especially when they saw her scars. But it used to really upset me, but after a while I just used to switch off to it, you know, because I knew the truth. I explained the truth to them, and if they didn't accept that, then, well, that's their problem. A few people actually called the RSPCA on us and World Horse Welfare. I think it was 3 times that happened, and an inspector turned up, and we just invited them in. Like, obviously it was quite hurtful that anyone would think that we were capable of that, even though I'd given them a reasonable explanation. But at the same time, we had nothing to hide. Still don't have anything to hide. Inspectors are more than welcome. We explained everything. We gave them vet details, farrier details. They were free to look around and go look at the ponies as much as they wanted, and they only had to look at the condition of our other horse, the old, you know, the old one that we got this pony for as a companion. And then look at this one to see the difference, and to see that this one had been clearly abused, you know. And they were fine with it. They said, you know, keep up the good work, you know, hopefully she's all right. I think they spoke to the vet and the farrier just to confirm a few minor details, and they were absolutely fine. They were like, yeah, nothing to see here, you know, let's go move on. But it's good in a way. Like, as much as it irritated me, I'm actually glad, because if I saw a pony and I didn't think they were being cared for, or I had any concerns then about any animal, then of course I would call the authorities, you know. But it is kind of not nice to feel like you're the one on trial. But like I said, nothing to hide, nothing to lose, you know. So anyway, I called this pony Minnie. She was called Patch, but she didn't respond to it, so I called her Minnie. Minnie the Minx, because she was a bit of a minx, and Minnie because she was small. And she was honestly the loveliest pony. She knew her stuff. That pony knew her stuff so much. She'd clearly been well schooled before. And yeah, she'd clearly had a very, very good home, or many good homes in her life. But obviously the last few years had been pretty shit for her. She was brilliant in showing. Absolutely brilliant. I didn't have to do anything. I just held the lead rope and ran with her. She did it all herself, 100%. I take no credit for that, because she was bloody amazing. She knew how to move that pony. She knew how to stand. She knew how to have her ears pricked. She knew how to everything. Like, that pony knew everything. I swear. I didn't have to do anything. And she was super cheeky. When she'd been with us a couple of years and she realised that we weren't going to beat her or anything like that, she was so happy, you know. She was cheeky. She had a real personality. And oh my god, when I remember when we got Blackjack, my mum's cob, and then a few years later we got Ruby, and then obviously Freya and everything like that. I remember that Minnie was really the boss, you know. She made sure the minute she got any new horse came to that yard, she was there, like split second she was there, and she would stamp her foot, she would squeal at him, she'd reverse into him, and then didn't matter how big that horse was, if it was 7 hands or 17 hands, everyone bowed down to the boss mare. And Minnie was definitely the boss, you know. But she was really sweet. You could leave her with a young horse and she would show them the ropes. I mean, like, you know, she would discipline them, but she would be not nasty about it, you know. And like little kids, you know, you could put a baby on her, newborn baby, I swear, in a basket. She wouldn't have moved a muscle all day if you'd have left her. Absolutely brilliant. In the end, she went blind, almost. Not quite. She still had some vision. One eye was better than the other, but she was definitely struggling. Yeah, by the end, I think she was virtually... She could see shadows, but not much else. So you had to make sure you spoke to her and you didn't move anything. You know, you had to make sure that everything was where it should be. And it, you know, she found her way around. She was happy. It went gradually, so I think she just kind of got used to it. It's not like she suddenly went blind. And she did have a lot of issues in her mouth. She used to be quidding a lot, you know, where they get grass stuck between their teeth. She had to have them cleaned out quite a lot. She had to have some teeth removed. She had to have like an angle grinder type tool on her teeth as well, because she lost the grazing surface to her teeth. So they had to kind of like recreate one for her. She also had a lot of scarring in her mouth, as I mentioned earlier, because the vet thought that she actually had barbed wire put in her mouth, of all things. Something like that, you know, like actually put inside her mouth instead of a bit. And oh my god, it just makes me so angry. But anyway, we had her 13 years. And she was honestly the best pony ever. And I tell you what, that pony was spoiled. She used to be allowed cake. She used to be allowed everything a horse isn't supposed to have, you know, in moderation, but she was allowed it. She used to like Coke as well, like a little bit of Diet Coke. she'd have Diet Coke, but she wouldn't eat sugar-free polos. Absolutely, none of our horses actually like sugar-free polos. They know the difference. They definitely wanted the full sugar ones, but no, she was a lovely little old lady, and she was such a character, and we really miss her. We really, really miss her. In the end, I chose to have her put down. It was a really hard decision because I kind of hoped that one day I'd get there and just find her passed away, so that I wouldn't have to make that decision. But in the end, like, she was struggling more and more, and honestly, when the vet came to put her to sleep, it was her time. She was happy to go. She went really peacefully. There was no fear, no pain, no nothing. No stress. She just went. So, yeah. Bit of a sad story, but yeah, good question. Minnie was my first pony, and quite possibly the best pony ever, but shh, don't tell the others that. So yeah, I used to ride. I didn't ride as much as most people do. I think I was always a bit more of a on the ground, you know, natural horsemanship kind of person. Like, I'm not a hippie or anything, I swear. You know, like I always was happier on the ground, walking with them. Obviously carriage driving, I think I actually enjoy a lot more than riding, but I do miss riding. And I did have lessons, and I was never the world's best rider, but I was competent. You know, I rode a wide range of horses, especially when I was at college and stuff like that. But I had quite a nasty accident when I was about 17. Was it 17? Yeah, 17, I think. And I caused like a lot of injury to myself. It was a total freak accident. Wasn't my fault, wasn't the horse's fault. You know, I've overanalyzed it a million times, and it was just one of those things. I don't hold any bad blood against it or anything, but it really, really knocked my confidence, because I couldn't ride due to the injuries for a long time after that. If I'd have got straight back on, I might have been alright, but yeah, knocked my confidence, and I went from being able to jump and gallop around like a lunatic to suddenly not being able to do anything. And obviously I'm a lot fatter now than I was back then, for lots and lots of reasons, mostly medication reasons. But yeah, if I lose some weight, I plan on getting back in the saddle. Even if I can just sit on a horse and go for a nice little plod, I'm happy. So yeah, I will ride. I swear to you, I'm going to lose like half of my current body weight, and I will ride. And I will definitely post videos. Although there might be a lot of swearing, because I'll be like, fuck, 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 you know. So yeah, watch this space. It's going to happen. Well, I think I've already answered this question lots of times on social media, so I'll make it kind of a bit more short and sweet. My current ponies, Blackjack, my mum got from a lady who was advertising him. He was 3, I think, when she got him. She bought him, and that was that basically. Just responded to an advert. Ruby, I saw an advert in a tack shop and jokingly said to my mum, "Oh look, that's a nice pony, let's go find it, you know, let's go buy it." And my mum was like, "Yeah, okay, text them, you know, I bet, you know," I think she was hoping that I'd be put off, but I wasn't. So yeah, more for her. The couple that had her were really, really lovely, but they were keeping her in a garden shed and overfeeding her. It wasn't their fault, you know, they didn't do it maliciously or anything like that. But it was after they let me have her just for £1, because she needed a lot of vaccinations and documents and stuff like that doing. So they were really kind, and they let me have her for £1, and they were really sad to see her go. Like, they genuinely loved her and everything. But it was only after we got her home, quite a few months later, that we realised that she'd had 8 homes, including me. Or was it before me? It was definitely 8 homes in 3 years. So all of her issues stem from before the people that we got her off of, basically, apart from the obesity. But, you know, I'm not going to blame them for that, you know. So, yeah. Freya came from a lady that I had on Facebook. She was advertising her for sale. We went to see her, we fell in love with her, and she's technically my mum's pony. So, because she's in my mum's name, and my mum is the one that does the most work with her. But yeah, that's how we got Freya. So pretty standard, pretty straightforward. And Aria, when we went to see Freya, Aria was about 2 weeks old, and she was running around like a lunatic. And I kind of fell in love with her, but I didn't think that the lady was going to sell her or get rid of her at any time. So anyway, I think Aria was 2, so it would have been about 2 years after we got Freya then, I think, that the lady said to me, you know, I'm thinking of finding Aria a good home. Well, she was called Leia at the time, because she was born on Star Wars Day, you know, Princess Leia and all that. But I changed it, obviously, to Aria. And yeah, she said, like, you know, are you interested? And I was like, I don't know, you know, like, maybe this is a really bad idea. Like, I spoke to my husband, I spoke to my mum and everything, and they were like, you know, it's up to you. You're the one who's got to pay for the vet bills, you know, because she's got dwarfism. I might have been letting myself in for one hell of a shitstorm, financially and mentally and everything, but as it is, I think I made a good decision. I did all of my research before I said yes. I took her on, and I'm really careful to put her needs first, but as it is, she's actually cost me less in vet bills, touch wood, than Ruby has so far, and I've had her nearly 2 years. Is it nearly 2? Yeah, nearly 2 years, so yep. The dwarf is actually the cheapest one at the moment, but I'm sure she will totally butt fuck me in a few years, excuse my language, when she's really old and decrepit. But she's nearly 4 and she's a bloody live wire. She's a nightmare, so I'm actually hoping she does slow down in a few years. But yeah, so yeah, pretty straightforward how we got the ponies. And I said I was going to make this a short but sweet clip, but here we are, nearly 4 minutes later. Oh dear, this is why I don't film videos. So my biggest equestrian achievement so far is probably when me and Ruby came second in a showing class. We only came second, but Ruby is an absolute bloody nightmare in a show class. She's absolutely fine and chilled until she goes in the ring, and then she goes mental, and she absolutely despises it. She hates every second of it. She gets herself in such a bloody state, it's unreal. And that was, I think, the last show that we did, because I thought, people were telling me, just keep doing it, keep working through it, everything will be fine. But in the end, I was like, no, you know, she hates it. Like, it's not that she doesn't enjoy it or that she's bored or anything like that. She genuinely friggin' hates it. And I was like, Rosettes ain't worth it. You know, it is not worth all of the time, money, effort, whatever, if she's going to hate every second of it. Like, nah, not doing it to her. So it was the last hurrah sort of thing. Last hurrah? Is that even a thing? I think so. Sorry. Caffeine! And I took her in the show ring, and she was a bit of a twat. Not her fault. Totally not her fault. I'll come back to that later. But yeah, she went mental, but it wasn't as bad as it had been previously. And she actually came second, and I nearly fainted. I was like, what? Like, this there must be a mistake. And the judge was like, no, she comes second because she's a nice mover. You know, yeah, she isn't very happy about the whole thing, but she moves nicely. She's a nice stamp of pony or whatever. I think it was in a mountain and moorland class, or it might have been a potential driving pony class. It was one of the two. I have a feeling it was a mountain and moorland small breeds class or something like that. And she came second, and I was just over the moon. I cried like half the day. I was like, oh my god, we actually achieved something, you know. And people are like, why do you care? It's only second, you know, because I've come first in agility, I've come first in other things before, not necessarily with Ruby, but well, I think Ruby's come first in agility like twice or something like that. And I've come first with my previous pony and stuff like that. They're like, why do you care about second? Second is shit, you know. You're second best, if anything. And I was like, yeah, but for Ruby, and considering everything we went through to get to that point, that's a bloody achievement, you know. So yeah, it doesn't matter where you get placed. It's all about, I wouldn't care if I came first or last, as long as the pony and I have done our best. That's all I care about. But yeah, that's probably one of my greatest achievements. Although, getting Ruby into her harness and finally driving her for the first time is also a bloody big achievement. And I'm really proud of all of that. But I'll be coming back to that in later videos. But yeah, they're probably the top 2 main achievements. Oh, and helping Ruby to lose weight. That was another big one, because that took years of blood, sweat, tears, bruises, whatever, you know. But now she's much healthier, so fingers crossed she stays that way. So my favourite horse breed is the Frisian, because they're just majestic as fuck. They are stunning. And my favourite pony breed is probably Shetland. Well, yeah, I love Shetland ponies, and irony is the only registered full Shetland that I own has bloody dwarfism. How ironic is that? But yeah, they're probably my top 2. I love all horses, but Frisian and Shetland, gotta love them.